Hello and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for August of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening this month for you. Well, Aries, Ceres is traveling along through Libra in your 7th house. And Ceres is such a wonderful grounding influence. She is a perpetual reminder that we live in the physical world and that we need to maintain our connection with the physical world. And showing up as she's doing this month in the house of partners and partnership, you may receive this message from somebody that you're partnered with. You may find that somebody is out to ground you. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, you're 15 and you're not allowed to stay out after 9. I'm talking about, getting you more solidly connected to the practicalities of the situation. So you may find messages like that coming to you from a partner and in partnerships that you have, whether those are business partnerships or personal ones. So bringing a practical approach and being ready to meet your partner in that realm of groundedness and pragmatism and, how can we get things more shipshape and more orderly around here? How can we take that practical approach? This is a really good month for that. Ceres is going to be in your 7th house all month and through into mid-September. Juno starts the month in the sign of Cancer right here in your 4th house, which is really a great place to find Juno because she is a goddess of committed relationships of all kinds, like a business partner, like a spouse, like a long-term relationship, like a live-in partner, like even a co-parent. And as she travels through the 4th house, it's a really great time to sort out your domestic arrangements, your domestic agreements, make sure that things are fair and equitable around your home and everybody's feeling like they're pulling together around home projects and making the home as cozy, comfortable, and emotionally warm as possible. A really good nest for everybody involved. And that might include children, right? And then also there's really nothing like Juno in Cancer for increasing the emotional warmth of your relationship. And so this is a really good time for sympathizing with your partner and eliciting your partner's sympathy and deepening the emotional bonds that are there. Juno is going to move on into Leo mid-month, right here. And so she enters your 5th house, which is really the signal that it's time for some fun with your partner. Everything has its season, fun included. And wherever Juno goes, you want to look to your partnerships and see what they might need in this new territory, and also see whether you can do something in your social life, because Juno's a very social creature. She's quite the networker and the social maven. And this is a house of fun and pleasure and play and games and hobbies and entertainment. And having Juno here does suggest this is a really good month for just getting out there and having some fun, throwing a party, entertaining people, hostessing, being there with your partner, looking good with your partner looking good with you, and just showing up as really shiny as a couple. And so get out there and have some fun with your partner this month, even if it's a work partner. It's good to reinforce the bonds by having some fun and silliness together. So then we have Uranus. I want to talk about Uranus, and here he is. Uranus, of course, is the rebel and revolutionary. Uranus is the change maker, and he's been traveling along through Taurus in your second house for several years now. He's got another year or so to go, but he's busy making changes. Uranus likes to make conceptual shifts. Uranus really likes to change your concept of something. And this is a house of things that are meant to be very solid. So it's very disconcerting while Uranus is here, because he may be changing your mind, your attitude, your approach, your filter about some of the things that really we'd wish would rather stay the same. Such as your finances. Obviously, you want your finances to grow at a slow and steady pace, but Uranus might have some wackadoodle idea about how you could grow your bank suddenly and create a radical leap in your finances. Uranus might also, I just want to warn you, might offer you a radical leap down in your finances, potentially because you're feeling restless and feeling like you want more money at work, and they decide to downsize you instead. So you want to be cautious with this one. It can have terrific results, but it does need to be handled with some delicacy and some grace. Now, you might be wondering, if Uranus is going to be here for a total of like 7 years, and it's already been here for several years, why am I mentioning it now? Well, that's because Uranus is going retrograde later in the month here on the 28th. And when Uranus goes retrograde, it then is going to spend several months retrograde, and really for the rest of the year, Uranus will be retrograde. And during that time, Uranus is going to take us all on an inward journey of asking ourselves new questions, maybe engaging in some experiments and opening up to the possibility of changing even things that had been settled quite thoroughly. So that feeling of agitation and disruption can come over you pretty strongly when Uranus goes retrograde and you feel like you're ready for some kind of pivot or shift. And then that will unspool and play out over the course of the rest of the year as Uranus travels retrograde. Hey, Julia, what's up with Venus, Mercury, and Mars for the Aries of the world?
Well, hey there, Aries. Let's start with Mars, your ruling planet. So Mars starts the month in your 6th house. This is a work house. This is a house of health. This is a house of habits and routines. And wherever we have Mars, we can feel very driven and we can be very energized, actually. So you're going to be very energized by your routines this month, you know, showing up at work, clocking in, your health routines, your physical routines. In fact, this is a fabulous month for putting in place very good physical routines. Now, the 6th house is also a health house. And if you do have any chronic issues, then Mars might have a tendency to bring some of them up. Mars rules things like blood, inflammation, headaches, things of that nature. So sometimes chronic issues can come up, but there usually are an invitation for us to put in better routines so that we can actually support our body to deal with those chronic issues. So if that stuff does come up, don't be, don't be stressed out about it, but just sort of say, what can I do to revamp my routines, with what I eat, with my physical health, in order to make my health better and support it more. Then by the end of the month, August 27th, Mars moves into your 7th house, and it's going to be there next month too. This house rules your romantic relationship. And when Mars is in the 7th house, you know, this rules your partner, for example. They might be a lot more frustrated. They might be a lot more annoyed. They might be a lot more energetic than usual, maybe more prone to having confrontations with you. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, you know, you might notice that your partner gets a little bit more revved up by the end of this month. This house also rules your business partner, so it could apply to them too. And this can be a little bit of a troublesome time if you're trying to hire contractors, which are also ruled by the 7th 7th house, where you might find that you're not kind of seeing eye to eye with them. The best way to handle Mars in the 7th house is to get a lot of work done with your partner, especially if you could do some physical routine together, like a physical activity, like go for a hike or go for a jog or get involved in a project at home, paint a room together. That could mean that you get a lot of stuff done, a lot of energy out, instead of just getting all pent up and frustrated with one another, which can sometimes happen with Mars. Now, Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and relationships, starts the month in your 5th house retrograde. So when Venus is retrograde, it's a time of relationship review for us all. And in the 5th house, you could be reviewing your relationship through 5th house matters. This is the house of children, fun, games, creativity, also dating too. So with Venus retrograde in the 5th, you could be asking yourself, do I want to have children with my partner? Do I want to have more children with my partner? Am I having enough fun with my partner? Do we have enough shared fun activities together? Do we like the same creative pursuits together? The idea that the couple who plays together stays together is a real Venus in the 5th house concept. So you could be wondering about how you and your partner actually have that shared sense of play. And if you're single, this could be a time where you're reviewing the people you're dating. If you're actively dating now, I wouldn't make any commitments right away. I would just kind of, see how the chips fall. And if you're single and not dating, then maybe you're thinking about your next partner in terms of these 5th house matters. Now, by August 13th, Venus is going to exactly conjoin the sun. We call that relationship clarity day. So mid-month, watch out for any insights and revelations. This could be a time of clarity in your relationship after this process of reviewing. And finally, if Venus retrogrades can be times where our exes tend to come out of the woodwork. So you might run into people that you dated before during this time, whether you're actively dating now or you're partnered. And finally, Mercury, the planet that rules your mind, starts the month in your 6th house and is going to go retrograde later. So Mercury in the 6th is a good time for getting organized in your life. Mercury naturally has some affinity with the 6th house, the house of routines. It's your day-to-day structure. It's your job. It's your health. It can also mean that you're thinking a lot about your health, thinking about health routines in general. Now, on August 23rd, when Mercury goes retrograde here, you could be reviewing a lot of health matters in your life. You could also be reviewing your work conditions. Are you happy with where you're working? Are there things that you can do to sort of improve the day-to-day conditions of your job as well? And also, you might go back on something you've organized. Maybe you cleared out the garage this summer and organized everything, and you go back into the room and you're like, you know what, none of this works out. I'm going to have to redo everything. So be prepared for all of that stuff, Aries.
So true. Hi, Jamie here. Horoscopes and moon videos are fun, but they're also really general. Did you know we run live workshops monthly and that you can get questions answered about your own chart there? This month's topic is how to get passion and commitment in one blissful package. In this workshop, you'll discover your 2 different types, for love and for marriage, and how to resolve them in a single, passionate, and committed relationship. If you haven't found lifelong love yet, you might want to consider attending this. This workshop is expressly for our Tier 2 Patreon subscribers. It's easy to sign up at the Patreon link in the description below. I'd love to see you there. Now let's get back to the video. Well, I've got 3 moons to tell you about, beginning right away at the start of the month, August 1st, with the first moon, which is full moon in Aquarius right here in your 11th house. Now we're calling this one Big Egos Disrupt Group Nourishment. And there could definitely be some very big personalities sucking all the air out of the room during a moon like this, with Jupiter in square to it, as it is. And you might really find that this plays out very purely in your social life. You might even find that you're the big personality that's sucking all the air out of the room, or that somebody else is. It can really go either way. You might find yourself pulling for attention to be spread out among the group, or you might be finding yourself pulling for all the attention being localized on just one person. But this is a very nourishing moon. And I say that because the moon trines Ceres, and that's the two mother archetypes. So there's a lot of sweetness to this moon. And there just needs to be a balance between attention, being focused on just one person versus spread out among the group. The second moon I want to tell you about is coming up mid-month. And it's a new moon in Leo happening on the 16th. And so that one lands in your fifth house. So lots of activity going on in your fifth house this month. And that is a house of fun and play and enjoyment and pleasure and those things that I was talking about before and that Julia's been mentioning too. Lots of energy and attention in this area, which means that it's really, it's a good month for working on your personal brand. I like to think of this house because the fifth house is a house of self, and it opposes and balances with the 11th house, which is a house of community and network and group. This is like if the 11th house governs your social networks, like all the people that you know through your online presences, then the fifth house is your actual brand online. And I'm not talking about like that you have a business. I'm just talking about who you are and how you show up. What's your profile picture look like? What do you have in your profiles? Like, what can people see about you? What do people see of you when they look you up online? And so this is a really good month for working on that stuff and putting some good attention on that. And during this new moon in particular, to plant some seeds that will help you to come off better in your social presences online in the future. Now we're calling this moon mending rifts, not making them, because it does include a square to that very disruptive Uranus that I mentioned before, which might be making you feel destabilized in the first place. But this moon ultimately has more harmony than stress in it. And you can find out about all this month's moons on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the forecast tab, where you can find videos about all of these moons. And I recommend that you do that. So later in the month, at the very end of the month, we have the last of this month's 3 moons. And it is unusual to have 3 moons going on in a month. And that's because 2 of them are full moons, which means that the second one is a blue moon. And a blue moon is what we call it when we have 2 full moons in a calendar month. It is the sort of thing you'd find in your farmer's almanac, or you might find in your wee moon calendar, but it doesn't have any astrological significance. It's just kind of fun. So this is a blue moon in Pisces landing in your 12th house. And this moon really might make you want to pull inward and retreat. You might feel a little bit like people are like watching you and judging you, and you just kind of want to hide. And that would probably actually be a pretty fine thing to do. This moon is about pressure to establish boundaries, which moon in Pisces is not very good at. And you might feel like you want to retreat so that you can find your boundaries. Saturn is here to help to figure out what those boundaries are and should be, but you really might feel like others are looking at you with a particularly scrutinizing eye, especially at work, with the sun in Virgo over here opposing that moon. And this moon, in the video that we made about it, we talk about a very interesting and unusual configuration called a yod. And if you know what that is and that perks up your ears, you should definitely go and check out the video. You'll learn more about yods. So the last thing I want to tell you about is the seasonal change. Now, the sun spends the beginning of the month in your 5th house. And I talked about that before. Really, a lot of the emphasis at the beginning of the month is on fun and play and entertainment and hobbies and creativity and self-expression, personal brand, and those sorts of things. And then as the sun moves on into your 6th house, notice that there's a real gathering of planets right here in your 6th house. And that's really the signal that playtime is over and it's time to go to work and it's time to be organized, and that a lot of the energies are supporting that in the second half of the month. Wherever the sun goes, we want to bring the sunlight of our high quality attention so that things can thrive and flourish there, because what you put your attention on grows. And so after August 23rd, for about 30 days. The sun will be traveling along through your 6th house, and it's a really great time to just get things super shipshape, both at home and at work, and to relate with your coworkers in the best way possible. Navigating the Venus and Mercury retrogrades, which won't be easy, but putting high quality attention on your coworkers should smooth things out pretty well.
Well, that's all for today. If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
You can find out so much more about how this month's transits affect you in very personal timing in our monthly Patreon workshops. Find the link in the description below to get started. Enjoy your summer, and until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.